It's okay. We're live.
Yep.
Awesome. Good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me and see me well. If you can't, please say something in the comments so that Gladys and David behind the screens can sort it out. Iko Ju. Yeah, I don't want people looking up my nostrils.
But don't cut you.
My beautiful head should not be cut off, right? Awesome. Um, I see a few people already on Instagram. Instagram is this one, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're on Instagram, TikTok, and
YouTube.
Facebook. No LinkedIn today. Huh?
And your LinkedIn.
My LinkedIn. Awesome. Okay. I guess we'll wait a little bit just to allow as many people as possible to join. Just if you would be so kind, let us know where you're joining us from. Just the name of the town or the city, whether you're in Kenya or outside of Kenya. It's really cool for us to know. So please do drop a line and say, if you're in Nairobi, say Nairobi. If you're in Dar es Salaam, say Dar. New York, whatever, wherever you are at, please do let us know. We'd love to know. My name is Solomon Wangwe, founder, managing director of Goshen Acquisitions Limited, as well as its wholly owned subsidiary, Grand Acres, the most transparent, most trustworthy land sellers in Kenya. I've been doing this for almost 13 years now. So we know a thing or two about how to do it and how not to do it. So that's the whole point for today. Our weekly live session is to share our learnings, our experiences around property investments. So if you or someone you know is really keen on learning how to buy property safely, specifically on land, because that's our specialty, this is a conversation you don't want to miss. So if someone you know that you like, love, respect, is like you looking to learn, please take a moment, share the link with them as quickly as you can so they don't miss out. Uh, Good vibes only, as always. Leave out the people you don't like, the people who don't like you. They'll join the bandwagon later. So please share widely, like, subscribe, so that you don't ever miss out on anything cool we're doing, whether live or recorded. And it also helps our algorithm so that more people can get access to this sort of positive content. Okay, so with that, I will say welcome one and all. If you have questions, comments, commentary to make a complaint, even, we're all ears. If we don't know something, we will say so. We will find out for you. And that which we do know, we will share. And if you have something you've learned in your own journey process, please do share. We're open to learning as well. That's what it's all about, empowering one another with good information on how to go about owning land or property safely in Kenya. It's now 4 minutes past 8. We'll keep going until 9 p.m. So let's get started with your questions and answers. Either way. Okay, first question is from Instagram about Rustling Dawn. How many acres are you holding for this development? Um, so Rustling Dawn in totality sits on just under 7 acres. It's about 6.85 acres to be exact, which is incidentally the largest block of land we could ever find available on the lakefront back in 2015 when we acquired this piece of land. Okay, it's very rare to find lakefronting, waterfronting property to begin with. When you do find one, they tend to be very small. 2.5 acres is usually the largest you'll find So for us to be able to have just about 7 acres touching the waterfront. When we say lakefront, it's literal. We don't fudge the words. We don't misrepresent. We don't exaggerate. Lakefront is lakefront. Some of our beacons will actually get kissed by the water in the heavy rain season when the water levels swell after heavy rains. And as you can see on the video, for those who are watching us on YouTube and YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, you can see the video. That's the actual site. So that's how much land we have on the site available. We have already sold quite a number of the quarter-acre plots. They are legally zoned residential as approved by Nakuru County, and they will come with a certain amount of amenities. The area is already pretty well established, so that's not difficult to do. Power, water from Gilgil. We have 2 neighbors on either side of us who are both resorts with power and water. We simply have to plug into the main grid as the service providers will execute. It's not something you do on your own. You make applications and they do their thing. And we have, I think, 10 plots or less remaining as of today. That number will probably have reduced after this weekend. So if you're keen to make an investment in this unique location, UNESCO World Heritage Site, home to over 400 bird species, many of which are endangered bird species, one of the main reasons it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The history, around this place is out there for you to look at and learn if you've never heard of Lake Elementaita. So reach out. Give us a call, send an email, go on our WhatsApp business page, download the brochure, book a site visit, come take a look, buy, secure this opportunity before they're gone. It's very rare, so you don't want to waste time on that. I'll tell you that objectively, even if I wasn't the one selling, it's a fact. Lake Elementaita is the smallest of the 3 Great Lakes. So by virtue of that, you have the least amount of lakefront or water frontage on Lake Elementaita. So it doesn't take a genius to know that this is a very limited opportunity. So grab yours while you can. A follow-up question is, are buyers required to develop, as in build, in a certain period of time? Yes, buyers are required to develop, which is why we bothered to go through the county approval process for residential use. Okay, we're not one of those companies that sells you land by telling you, oh, this would be an amazing holiday weekend villa site in the future, when we haven't bothered to change its zone or user for you, right? Most sellers will sell you a quarter acre with a picture of what you could use it for in the future, and sell it to you as a freehold agricultural piece of land, which is absolutely pointless for the use that's been advertised. We don't do that. So for that reason, we do expect that you would build or develop at some point. Our architects, one of the best, US-based with local offices, DLR Group, did our master plan, and will also be developing housing plans for you to build according to the master plan look and feel. So yes, in answer to your first question, will you be required to build in a certain period of time? No. We have been hesitant to impose time limits on construction, primarily because a good number of our customers happen to be diaspora-based. They're not here to build that quickly or use the space that soon, even if they do build. So, we haven't quite gotten to the point where we impose deadlines for construction. But needless to say, anyone who's looking to risk 4.99 million shillings buying an exclusive piece of land would not do so because they're bored of holding their money. They're looking to do something material or meaningful with that kind of investment. So it's our expectation that as soon as we're sold out and the infrastructure is completed, people will build. So watch this space because we'll be sharing updates as that begins to happen. That's a great question. Sam underscore K underscore Mwangi on Instagram says, my dad has a case where he was sold land in Sukari, but someone came and said they had been gifted. How does one approach such a case? Have you any advice about the Sukari Association? I'm sorry to hear that, Sam K. That's a terrible situation to be in general. I mean, there's no other way to put it, right? As far as Sukari Association is concerned, I don't have any opinions or comments to make because I'm not a member of the Sukari Association. I don't know what the association's terms and rules of engagement are, so it would be idiotic for me to make a commentary on that. But I will say that if someone is claiming that they were gifted land that was already sold to your dad, my first question is who holds title to that property? Number one, is it your dad or the person who claims they were gifted the land? Is there a title deed in the first place? Let's start there. Okay, if there is, whose name is registered to that title? And number two, was that number three, was that registration of ownership of the title deed done in accordance with due process? These are all the questions one would have to answer before you can conclusively make any decisions about who rightfully owns the land. So some K, we would need more details than you're providing. I strongly recommend, as I always do, that your dad gets himself a licensed advocate, one who specializes in conveyancing specifically, to consult with. Present all the documentation, the history around his acquisition of that piece of land, so that its ownership can be established once and for all. Okay, and I wish you all the best with that. Ahadi Group, hey, Ahadi Group, as always, nice to see you guys. Thank you for tuning in. You're joining us from Instagram, and Ahadi Group says, hi, Solomon, I'm anxiously awaiting for the day you will announce land for sale in the coastal region. Please let me be the first person to know. Absolutely, member of Ahadi Group. We're also waiting very eagerly to make that announcement. So stay tuned. As soon as we do, you will be amongst the first to know, because before we go public with it, our existing customers are told first. That's why it matters that you're a Goshen Acquisitions customer or Grand Acres customer, because you get the best deals first. You get first dibs on everything we will ever have to offer into the future. So 100% Ahadi Group, I promise you, you will be one of the first to know. Renee on TikTok says, can you get me a half acre in Ngong? Thank you for that question, Renee. We do not have any inventory in Ngong at the moment, so that's not something we can serve you with at the moment, unfortunately. Also, just for clarity, unlike agents or brokers, we only sell what we own, 100%. So if it's not in our inventory at the moment, it's not something we can offer you. But we wish you all success finding the right partner to find the half acre for you. And in case you haven't already done so, Renee, please equip yourself sufficiently, since you're obviously scouting for an investment opportunity. Go to our website, www.grandacres.co.ke. Click on the tab that says checklist, download that checklist for yourself, and have all the information with you to allow you or empower you to buy that half acre in Ngong safely. It's a completely free resource. Just putting it out there in case you don't have it. Do yourself a favor, download it and use it while you scout for land. If you know someone like yourself who's actively looking and is prepared to risk some capital making a land investment, please share that checklist with them, and we will all be the better for it. Thank you for your question, Renee. I really appreciate it. Michelle from Nairobi says, I think Michelle is joining us from what, YouTube?
Yes.
Michelle says, I'm interested in a piece of land on freehold. As a foreigner, I was advised to convert to leasehold. What is the process? What is the documentation? How long does it take? That's an awesome question, Michelle. As a foreign national, it is illegal for you to own any land in Kenya that's freehold. Freehold land is exclusively reserved for Kenyan national citizenship owners. Okay, so if you're a foreign national and interested in owning property in Kenya, it has to be leasehold. It cannot be freehold. So what's the process? The process is quite simple. It's not rocket science. It is involving. It's very technical. You have to work with a licensed planner, a registered planner, to carry out that process for you. They have to gazette a notice in at least 2 national dailies. They have to post a notice on the site explaining the intention to change the tenure from freehold to leasehold. And ideally, that conversion needs to happen before you get registered as an owner. If your name is already on the freehold title deed as a foreign national, your ownership is already null and void. So get that conversion done before you buy the land, okay? If there's been mistakes made, get yourself a licensed advocate to fix that for you or advise you on the best way to go forward. Okay, I cannot overstate that. Work with licensed professionals and don't don't take any shortcuts, because it's gonna be painful if you do. All you have to do is search land cases in Kenya, and you will see how common it is for people to lose their land because they didn't follow due process. So measure thrice, cut once, work with licensed professionals, and you'll be fine. I hope that helps, Michelle, and I wish you all success owning land in Kenya as a foreign national. Daniel Kimani on Facebook says, a quarter an acre, 4.9 M, really? An acre there goes for around 4 to 5 million. Well, Daniel, I'm not even sure where to start with your comment, because there's a universe of missing information between the beginning of your question and the end. So let's have an intelligent conversation about this, okay? The last time I saw land going for that price at Lake Elementaita, especially if it's lake fronting, was in 2014. Okay. Now, if it's not lakefront, maybe. So give us some details. Let's have a data-driven conversation, Daniel Kimani. Okay. Data-driven analysis, right? Don't make drive-by comments like that on social media. It's cowardly and idiotic. I'll be blunt about that, Daniel, okay? So if you have information we can debate objectively, let's go. Grad, this is Esther 10315 on TikTok. It's showing me the YouTube icon.
Because we import the comments ourselves.
Got you. Esther 10 on 315 on TikTok says, hi, can you buy land from someone who is selling in Naivasha? Yes, we can, if it meets our investment parameters, Esther. What I would advise you to do is send us an email with the details of the land. Make sure you include a pin drop or pin location link so that we can assess it very quickly. We can do that on Google Maps. We can very quickly assess its suitability for our needs without getting into the rigor of site visits and blah, 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 and the terms that you're looking for. And we can get back to you about whether or not it's something we can look into. Okay, thank you for that question. Man, who reads Arabic? I can't read that name. I'm sorry, whoever you are, I do not speak Arabic, so I can't read that name. But you're on TikTok, and I thank you for tuning in. So, with 2 million, can I buy a Swahili good house anywhere in Mombasa? Wow. Okay, honestly, I have no idea. I would be very surprised if you could buy any meaningful kind of house for 2 million shillings, especially in Mombasa. Mombasa tends to be very expensive just on a land basis. Forget the building on top of the land. Uh, that's the most honest answer I can give you. Whoever you are joining us on TikTok, 2 million sounds improbable. Um, yeah, I suggest, you know, maybe maybe increase your budget just a little bit if you're looking for a built house. If you're talking about land, undeveloped land, maybe depending on what part of Mombasa. So maybe a few more details could be helpful, and we can see what we can drum up. Okay, but thank you for sending your question. User 6130990894263 on TikTok. Whoever you are, thank you for tuning in. And you say, how long does it take land to appreciate? How long does it take land to appreciate? It depends. It depends on all sorts of different things: location, proximity to infrastructure and amenities, and market dynamics. There is no simple one answer to that question, whoever you are. Um, what I can say for sure, historically, land has always appreciated in Kenya since 1963. It's an upward trajectory that it looks like a ladder going upwards. So we have that to rely on as a data set. In terms of how long specifically for your location, for the size, and that sort of thing, you need to dig in deeper and look at the historical trend. Um, but yeah, that is the best answer I can give you. More research required. Okay. Sir Prestige says, "Hey, what's up, Sir Prestige? Good to see you again. Greetings, Sir Solomon. Good to join you today from closer shores. Looking forward to crossing the river from your side of Westlands to visit. Hey, Sir Prestige is here. Karibu, anytime. We've been saying welcome for, I don't know, 2 years now, maybe longer. I'm so looking forward to meeting you, Sir Prestige. We look forward to having you over at the office. Karibu sana. Imbali on TikTok says, your CTA really inspired me. Thank you for saying so, Imbali. I to this day, I'm extremely embarrassed about my CTA. I can't watch past episode 3, to be honest. How Richard Eastern Jao got me to share the things I shared on that CTA, I'll never know. He's a Christian, so I know he didn't use witchcraft. But thank you for that kind of compliment, Imbali. I'm glad it inspired you. That was the whole point, which is why I love CTA and its owner, Richard Eastern Jao, visionary guy. Keep supporting him. Lots of good content on there. Wow, we have exhausted all the questions by 8:25. I guess people are still having their dinner. So yeah, if you have any more questions or comments to make, particularly the gentleman who made the comment about Lake Elementaita, let's dig into it, man. Come on, let's go. Okay, John Anjichi Nathan. on Facebook says, "Good evening, sir. Under which circumstances has land in Kenya depreciated since 1963? Rare circumstances, that is, now that it generally keeps appreciating." Okay, first thing I'll say, John and Jichi Nathan, is land in Kenya. Land in Kenya, that term, land in Kenya, is too general. If you're going to look at the instances of depreciation of land, you have to look at it by specific location, zone of a city, and that sort of thing. Generally, land in Kenya has never depreciated. If you're going to look at a general data set, and you can do that on Google, it's not out of reach. Now, if you look at places like urban centers like Nairobi, places like Westlands, Lavington, Muthaiga, Gigiri, and what have you, you will find there are certain periods where the land value drops slightly. We saw this during COVID, for instance, because of reduced market activity. Land prices in these very specific neighborhoods might drop for a bit, but they always bounce back and overshoot, which is why historically we have that upward trajectory. You might have this action happening, right? Zigzag, zigzag, but the trajectory is generally up. So instances like COVID, obvious impact on that is obvious. Instances of high interest rates would also reduce appreciation of land because fewer people can afford to finance the acquisition of land in these specific zones. Interestingly, while this is happening in very localized zones like I've just described, other places could be doing the exact opposite. In some cases, in the double digits. If you look at the most recent Consult Land Index report, you will see that, and that's a good resource to use. Incidentally, so you can't overgeneralize. You have to be very specific. I often tell people as an analogy, real estate in Kenya is like medicine. Under the umbrella of medicine, you have brain surgeons, you have general practitioners, you have internal medicine specialists, you have orthopedic surgeons, you have psychologists, the list is endless. You get my point? So same thing with the real estate. You need to look at every subsector individually. The dynamics are night and day in some instances. So you can't overgeneralize by saying land in Kenya. You need to look at, is it agricultural land? Is it residential? Is it industrial? Is it in Nairobi versus Turkana? Is it in Mombasa? Is it Nakuru? Is it in a high-end area? Is it in a low-density area like Karen versus high-density area like Langata or Buruburu? Okay, those are completely different market dynamics. And so if you want to look at depreciation, focus on the specific neighborhood, and there's plenty of data to inform you on that historically, okay? And that can give you a guess as to what might happen in the future. That's my 2 cents, John and GT Nathan, and I thank you so much for that question. Washo Ndirangu. What's up, Washo? I was wondering when I was going to see your name up there. We feel a bit depressed when Washu doesn't show up. So thank you for showing up, Washu. Washu says, Nataka, the cheap land the Elementaita proposed. We buy lakefront, please. We too, Washu. Yeah. If you have land on the lakefront touching the water for 5 million an acre, twende kazi. Chiaga official on TikTok says, I have a good proposal. How can I get investor? Chiaga, you have a good proposal for what? A dinner date? Be specific is what I'm trying to say. Okay? Before we get to talking about words like investor. Okay, Mark Waiganjo on TikTok. What's up, Mark? Thank you for tuning in. Mark says, "Hi, Solomon. What advice do you have for young guys recently employed and want to invest in land? Also, how do people group and buy land together? How does that work?" Well, Mark, advice for young people recently employed and want to invest in land. Step number one, go to the Grand Acres website and download the checklist, which will tell you that the first thing you should do is define your investment goal, because that informs the rest of your journey. Okay? Part of that process will be determining your budget. How much money do you have access to? Is it savings? If so, how much? If it's more than just your savings, is it a loan? Do you have access to capital from a SACCO, for instance? Or are you one of those blessed people who has a giant inheritance from your parents or grandparents that you can leverage to buy land? Okay, now if you don't have enough to do it on your own, pool with other like minded individuals and bust a move now. Don't wait, because while you're waiting, the land is appreciating. Today is the cheapest that land will ever be. Historically referenced, that is true in Kenya. Will probably be true in most parts of the world, right? So you want to bust a move now. If you can't bust a move now on your own, pool capital with others. Which leads to the question: how do you pool? How do you group yourselves? That is a topic that we could spend a solid week on. We've done some content on this in the past, so perhaps you could go to our archives and find that video, because it'll give you a much more comprehensive answer. But simple things like registering a investment group, it can be a limited liability company, it can be a limited liability partnership. Which of the two makes more sense for you guys will depend on your own goals and your objectives. So get wise counsel from a licensed advocate on the risks of one over the other. You may also need to talk to a tax advisor, a tax attorney, or an accountant to advise you on what the tax laws say and how they might impact your ability to have beneficial gain from that joint investment. Uh, do you do it through a SACCO? Do you just put all your names on a single title deed as opposed to buying in the name of another entity like a company? These are all questions you need to figure out. And the answer will depend mostly on the collection of people you pool capital with, your personalities, your long term objectives, so on and so forth. Okay, so um, if you want to provide me more details, maybe I can go deeper, but that's where I would advise you to start. Okay, Mark, and I wish you all success on this. It's a great thing what you're trying to do. I don't know how young you are. You say young guys. How young is young? You know, I'm 46 years old today. I feel young as well, but how young are you? I wish I started in my 20s, because the compounding effect of time as you age cannot be ignored. So kudos to you, and I wish you all success. User 6130990894263 again on TikTok says, "Do lands, guys? Can you please do me a favor and spell check as you're putting up these things? Okay, just edit the comments, because I know people are typing fast. And it's human to leave a letter here or there, but try and edit so I can read it well. This TikTok participant says, does land in rural areas appreciate faster? Not necessarily. It depends on what's going on in the specific area. Uh, what would make it appreciate? Is there something happening in the area that would put pressure on land prices? So, basic rule of thumb is this: land appreciates when there are more people wanting or desiring to own that land than there is an opportunity to buy it. Simple economic laws. Supply is lower than demand. So, what will make the demand increase? public projects, a road is coming, factory is being built, estate is being built, resort is being built, whatever. There's also things that will make a place attractive. When that happens, more people want to own it than there may be land available in the market. And when that dynamic kicks in, appreciation occurs because people are competing for a limited resource. So if that is happening in that particular rural area, yes, appreciation might be faster than even Nairobi. If it's not, then it could actually be lateral. Nothing is happening with the appreciation of land. I hope that helps. Okay, so again, the devil is in the details. I hate that term. Let's say the angel is in the is in the details. I don't know why the devil has to be the one in the details. Uh, so pay attention to the details. Okay, is what I'm trying to say, and make an informed, data-driven decisions. Mark Waiganja on TikTok says, "What are your views on off-plan purchase of apartments?" What are my views on off-plan purchase of apartments? I have many views. It would help to sort of narrow that down to something specific, but in general, making off-plan investments is a great idea because you can get in on the ground floor in terms of pricing, pun intended. Okay, you get a good deal before the thing is built as opposed to paying the retail price when the thing is completed. That's a whole concept behind off-plan purchases. That comes with its own set of risks. So if you have no experience doing this, I suggest you either find someone to guide you who's done it before or avoid it altogether. Wait for the silly thing to get completed and know exactly what you're paying for. Otherwise, you'll find yourself paying for things that don't get built as advertised. You have no idea how to hold the contractor or the developer accountable to building quality, especially when it comes to compliance with civil engineering standards. What size of steel gauge have they used for reinforcement? Blah blah blah. Okay, so if you're doing it for the first time, be very wary. Have someone who has a ton of experience doing it to guide you. Pay them a consultation fee if you must. Again, do they have a track record of building successful developments? Okay, do some research, do some DD on the developer. This is how you can make decisions about whether or not to start in the first place. In general, I would say it's a risk-ridden proposition. If you don't have experience doing it, get counsel, get advice, get someone to hold your hand. If you can't, you're way better off waiting for the thing to get built and buy it finished so that you know exactly what you're buying. Okay? And I must throw this one in there. If you do choose to engage in an off-plan purchase, it's an unpopular view, especially for the developer, for good reasons. The reason why a developer would sell something off-plan for cheaper than they could sell it for when it's completed is because your funds are helping them finance their construction, at least partially. So, as much as you can, if you're going to engage in an off-plan purchase, do not send your money directly to the developer. Let it sit in escrow so that if something goes wrong during the construction phase, they get stuck, they get penalized for violations by the National Construction Agency or NEMA or any number of other authorities that are responsible for the oversight of that development, you can extricate yourself from that process painlessly because you can recover your cash. Otherwise, you're stuck. Okay, so seek counsel, rely on the experience of those who've done it before. Otherwise, wait for the completed product. That's my advice, Mark, and thank you for your question. Barry Otieno on TikTok says, "Hey, love your videos. Do you have a Lipa Pole Pole solution, then you secure some land or property. Thank you, Barry Otieno, for your kind compliment. We love that you love our videos and that you're finding them beneficial. No, we do not have a Lipa Pole Pole solution per se, not one that we advertise anyway. On occasion, depending on the customer, we will consider a payment plan as you may propose that may work for you. And if it's something we can accommodate commercially in terms of our ability to service our obligations as a commercial enterprise, then we're happy to consider it. So, Barry, if there's something that we're selling that you like, reach out. Let's have a chat. What are you proposing to do as a payment plan? And we're happy to consider.
So there's a follow-up to the proposal.
To the proposal. Okay, the proposal guy. Chiaga Official on YouTube, right?
On TikTok.
On TikTok. Says, I have a prime plot in Feather with approved architectural and structural drawings, but my capital is exhausted. That's a proposal for the investor. Chiaga, that's not much of a proposal. Okay, you simply told me your current situation. What's your proposal? What are you proposing for the investor? And so, to be clear, when you're making a proposal to the investor, it has to be very clear to them what the risk is for the problem you're asking them to solve and what is their reward. What's in it for the investor? Otherwise, it's pointless. It's not a proposal. Okay, so you have a prime plot in Feather. If you don't give me any more information and I go off of, I have a prime plot in Feather with approved architectural and structural drawings, but my capital is exhausted. My first question is, are you the developer? Do you own the land? Number one. Okay. Number two, I would need to take a look at all your documents and make sure you follow due process, that you didn't skip any steps in your approval for architectural and structural drawings. Number three, where have you reached with that development? So at what point did your capital get exhausted? Did you pour the foundation? Are you on the 3rd floor versus the 10th floor? Have you done the roof? Are you stuck at the finishing phase? Where are you stuck? And then obviously I would need to know what the exposure is you're looking for financially. And I would also want to see what you've spent the capital you exhausted on. There's lots of questions. It's a conversation, Chiaga. If you want to send that through while we're on the call, you're welcome to. But we do not invest in such type of projects. We are land specialists. We are land developers, not vertical infrastructure developers, at least not yet. So we're not the right partner for you if your intention is to pitch us as an investor. But if you want to post some of those details here on the platform where others might see, and who knows, there might be an investor tuned in today who might want to reach out to you, by all means, you're welcome to do so. Cool. Flavor Shots on TikTok says, hi, sir, I have a land in Gilgil and I'm selling it so you people buy or you just sell. Okay, grammar problems. My grammar OCD is coming out today. Okay, Flavor Shots on TikTok. I'm going to read that again. Hi, sir, I have a land in Gilgil. Full stop. I am selling it. Full stop. Gladys, you're supposed to edit these things before you post them. Okay, so do you people buy or you just sell? Well, Flavor Shots, in order for us to have something to sell, at some point we need to have bought it, right? We need to buy. So yeah, we do buy, depending on whether or not it meets our investment goals and criteria. In case you heard the other question from the lady, I think it was the lady who posted a similar question, please send us a DM, ask for the email address, or you can find our email address on our website, www.grandacres.co.ke. Send us the details of your land, size, user, price you're asking, the terms of payment, and most importantly, pin drop, Google Maps pin drop, so that we can make a very quick assessment about its suitability for us based on its location and neighboring environments. And we can tell you if it's something we'd be interested in buying or not. Thank you for your question. Okay. Vendar254 on Instagram says, hello, can a foreigner having a company incorporated in Kenya own freehold land through the company? The answer is no, Vendar, unfortunately, because the foreign nationals' shareholding of that incorporated company in Kenya would disqualify the Kenyan company from owning the freehold land. Remember that ownership of a company transfers all the way through. Okay, you can't insulate yourself. If a foreign national owns any share of a Kenyan company, for all intents and purposes, that Kenyan registered company still has foreign interests, and that foreign ownership interest disqualifies the company from owning the freehold land. There is no wiggle rooms with this situation, Vendar. A lot of people try to do this and are misadvised to do this by whoever advised them to do it. It's not a solution. And in case it does happen, then that ownership is at risk of getting voided. Okay, so short answer to your question is no, it doesn't work. Your foreign ownership of the Kenyan registered company disqualifies the Kenyan registered company from owning the freehold land. Okay. Earthbender on TikTok says, I love you guys. I started seeing your content a few days ago, and this year we're going to own something here. Thank you, Earthbender, for that awesome, positive comment. We love you too. Thank you for watching. And we'd be honored to count you amongst our customers. Thank you. Kaka on TikTok says, how can I get genuine plot in Syokimau? First thing to do, Kaka, is download our checklist, 9 steps to safe land ownership in Kenya. In case you haven't done so yet, please do so. It's absolutely free. That's how you own genuine land in Syokimau. Follow every one of those steps, and I am willing to wager 99.9% of the time, you will be able to acquire yourself genuine plot of land in Syokimau. And there's plenty, by the way, plenty of genuine land in Syokimau. Just follow the checklist.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for saying okay. Next question.
Coming soon.
Okay, we're waiting. Man, we're doing great today. We're just knocking these things out faster than you guys can send them. For those whose questions didn't get answered last week, I'm sorry. It's never our intention to leave anyone hanging. The fact is, we only have an hour of time to allocate to this Q&A session, so don't let us waste these precious few 11 minutes remaining. Send in your questions fast and furious. Let's answer as many as possible before we're done. So we have another follow-up here from Vendar254 on Instagram. Hey, on the same query, is your proposition that the shareholding of the company changes to Kenyan directors so that the company can own the land and later add the foreigner as shareholder? Again, the answer is no, Vendar. Number one, there's a very distinct difference between a shareholder and a director. A shareholder does not necessarily have to be a director, and a director doesn't have to be a shareholder. So they're two separate, distinct, separate offices. Okay, so I just want to make that distinction for you because you mix the word shareholding of the company, changes to Kenyan directors, uh, apples and oranges. Okay, I know what you're trying to ask here is my proposition that your shareholding be given to a Kenyan citizen so that the company can then take ownership of the land and then later add you, the foreigner, as a shareholder? Well, everything will be fine until the point that you are added as a shareholder. For as long as a foreigner is added as a shareholder, an owner of a Kenyan registered entity, the Kenyan registered entity's ownership of the freehold land automatically becomes null and void. That's an illegality by law. So it doesn't matter which way you try and slice it, Venda. This is what I meant by there is no wiggle room as far as this law is concerned. It's very clean cut. There is no way for a foreign national to have any sort of ownership of freehold land. Okay? And there's a distinction between shareholding, which has to do with ownership, and directorship, which has to do with decision making. A director does not necessarily have to be a shareholder, and vice versa. You can be a shareholder and not a director. Okay, directorship has to do with board decisions, decision making, governance around what happens with the property, and those two are distinct. So, in that scenario, it is possible for you as a foreign national to be a director of the company that holds ownership of freehold land. Okay, because the disqualification has to do with ownership, not directorship. And I feel that this is a conversation you can have a lot more exhaustively with a licensed advocate, one who specializes on conveyancing and commercial law, because they can explain all the ins and outs and the intricacies for you so that you don't make a decision that could land you in trouble. Okay? I hope that helps. And thank you for that follow-up question. Mark Waiganjo on TikTok says, "Hi Solomon, do you have land you are selling in Kiambu County?" Not yet, Mark, but we're constantly scouting, and it's my hope that at some point we would. I am particularly partial to Tigoni and Limuru area as far as Kiambu County is concerned. Also maybe Ruiru, Juja. We're scouting for something in Juja, but for development purposes as opposed to subdivision. In either case, when we do find something, we will certainly let you know. But thank you for asking. Okay, Mark has a follow-up question, which is also, what are your thoughts on the vast land on Kiambu Ruiru Road, including Kamiti Corner? Kiambu Ruiru Road, including my thoughts? Stunning land, beautiful, red soils, coffee plantations, a lot of them. That area is amazingly beautiful. It's nice to drive through. I drive through there from time to time when I'm going to Tatu City, just to see what's going on. I have no clue what the ownership situation is for the vast land. Anytime you see large blocks of land like that are untouched, undeveloped, usually they're owned by a farming entity or a very wealthy individual or family who are not looking to sell. And in many cases as well, we have found that ownership documents might be an issue, which is why nothing has happened on the land, because no one can engage legally with that piece of land. But again, I haven't interacted in a granular manner, in a material sense, with any land there specifically, so I can't tell you exactly what's going on there. But without you specifying any further in terms of thoughts, studying land, breathtaking. I don't know why it's not developing or being developed. But yeah, in case you own some there or you find some, please let us know. We'd be happy to consider owning our little piece of it. All right. Stephanie Kagendo on Instagram says, you know how people who bought into Membli, Kamaki's area for little, but it's now prime. What's the next frontier on Thika Road? Well, Stephanie, that dynamic you just described there about Membli and Kamaki's for little back in the day does not exist on Thika Road anymore. That bus left because Thika Road all the way to, where would I say? That area where Kakuzi is, what's that area called? Come on, guys, it's on your way. It's on the way to your shags. You know that area. Kakuzi. You know where Kakuzi is? What's that area called? Makuyu. Yes. All the way to Makuyu. That's never gonna happen. It's done. It pitted. Along Thika Road, next frontier for that sort of dynamic maybe is Sagana. Okay, Makutano Junction or just past Makutano Junction. That's where I would be looking if you're talking about Thika Road. And I guess at that point it's no longer called Thika Road, right? you passed Thika. So that's my two cents, Stephanie. Thank you for that question. Masharia Ashley on Instagram says, hi Solomon, is there any vacancy you might be having, especially in the sales and marketing? Vacancy, no, but we're always looking to grow a solid team in our sales department. So DM us, reach out. We'll instruct you on how to send your CV, and we'll see if you're going to be a good fit for us or if we're a good fit for you. Thank you for asking. Kaka on TikTok says, I really feel scared when buying plots in Nairobi, but now I have confidence in you. Thank you, Kaka, for that vote of confidence. All success to you. If we have something you like, feel free to reach out. We'll be happy to engage, even though we don't have anything available in Nairobi. We tend to focus on areas outside of Nairobi for the time being, but should we ever have something in Nairobi, I'm sure you'll hear about it. Mark Waiganjo on TikTok. Man, Mark gets the award for participation today, man. This is awesome. Thank you, Mark, for all your questions and comments. So Mark says, it's very nice, but having grown up in Kiambu, I used to hear stories of land cases. What are your thoughts? Yeah, I still hear them today. That's why, I said, usually if you see large blocks of undeveloped land in very prime locations like that, chances are there's issues with ownership documentation, whether there are court cases, whether it's missing documents or the likes. You just have to do your due diligence, Mark. What can I say? If you found a specific block of land there that you're kind of interested in pursuing, find out who owns it and see why it's not on the market. Maybe they're just waiting for you to show up and make them an offer. But yeah, your due diligence is going to be critical in making sure that you're dealing with the right situation as far as the land specifically is concerned and ownership documentation. Karaoke Paul says, hi Solo, tell us about your Naivasha and Elementaita property. Well, Karaoke Paul, it's a shame that you waited until 9 p.m. to ask me that because we've run out of time. Listen, go to our socials. There's tons of content about our Naivasha and Elementaita property, videos we've done with customers, people scouting land. If you have any questions just reach out, DM us. I'm happy to have a live convo with you at whatever convenience we could secure as far as our calendars are concerned. We also have a brochure you can download by engaging our WhatsApp business page. Um, Tons of things I could talk about both projects. So if you're truly keenly interested in that, please reach out directly. Let's have a one-to-one conversation, and hopefully we can add you to one of those neighborhoods or both. Okay. Thank you for asking, Karaoke. I am so grateful to all of you for making time today. As always, lively engagement. It's 1 minute past 9. Here at the office, we like to say that time is money and money buys land. So, we'd honor your time by not bleeding too much past 9 p.m. and wish you safe tidings until we can join each other again next week, next Thursday, for another weekly session of Q&A. God bless you all. Grand acres to you all. Cheers.